Welcome to the Poetry Box Live. I'm Shawn Aveningo-Sanders, and we're so happy you could join us today. For those of you who may be joining us for the very first time, my husband Robert and I run an independent press here in Portland, Oregon, known as the Poetry Box. To help support our authors reach a broader audience, we host the Poetry Box Live on the second Saturday of each month here on Zoom. And for today's show, we have three amazing poets who will be reading from their new books. Today's featured poets include Joann Renee Boswell joining us from Washington. We have Elaine Nussbaum, who will be reading from Oregon, and Kristin Berger, who is also joining us from here in Oregon. Let's get started with our first featured reader. Joann Renee Boswell is the author of Breath So Hungry, which tells the tale of a whimsical yet passionate love story spanning 25 years. Joann is a poet, photographer, teacher, director, mystic, and mother who lives in Camas, Washington with her husband and her three adorable young children. Joann received her customized BA, which she likes to call the Choose Your Own Adventure degree from George Fox University, and later returned there to earn her Master of Arts in Teaching. Joann's first book, Cosmic Pockets, is a full-length collection of poetry and beautiful photography. Joann loves rainy days filled with coffee, contradictions, dystopian fiction, justice, hand-holding, forest bathing, hope, and sci-fi shows. Joann is the current poetry editor for Untold Volumes and edits for Voicecatcher. She has been widely published in places such as Cirque, Otoliths, The Plumbing Pigeon, and Tiny Seed Literary Journal. Please welcome Joann Renee Boswell.
Thank you so much, Shawn and the Poetry Box, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm recognizing several of you, and some of you I didn't know what you looked like, but I've seen your names and I'm so thrilled to have you here. This is kind of surreal. This is kind of like the launch for this chapbook for me, and it's stuck in the mail, so I'm not even holding it yet. But I went and had my husband, who's the subject of most of these poems, go print me a PDF really fast so that I can do this reading. I just am so delighted. I just want to read poems that are just from this book. So I'm only reading you poems that are from Breath So Hungry. My husband and I met, as you'll see, back in college, but we didn't start dating for like almost a decade. So my first poem that I'm going to read to you is called Meet's Cute. I don't remember at all how we met. Perhaps you glimpsed me and smitten, swiftly bent, mock demure gesture reverencing your queen. But no, you were picking up a spilled hanky from bulging cargo khaki shorts, angling your generous noggin so I could gaze enraptured, hair bleached so blonde, or was it just frosted? Tips definitely gelled either way. A full-bodied acoustic guitar leapt into your charming piano-knuckled hands. All the young Christian women clutched their ovaries, and I prayed not to fall victim to a hopeless crush, trampled by ladies drawn to your children's education intention and discipleship crest sparkle smile, toying with majors like so many clamoring females, but not me. I would expunge the memory of our meeting, no credence given to your significance, for surely you won't last beyond a footnote. My story destined for cuter meets and less popular attractions. 20 years later, and I still can't unscramble the jumble I made of our first eye clasp. The absence of this memory will haunt me forever. Thank you. So after, you'll see in the book, I'm skipping through here. I'm skipping wide sections, but after we graduated and we lived in different cities, then we came back and we were living, he was in Portland, I was in Vancouver. We were working on master's degrees, and we slowly started to drift together again. And became best friends, and then it shifted. This is called The Longest Day of Summer. Tall yellow meadow laced with daisies, billowing lazily above the pillow of your arms, where dusk shades violently from violet to yellow to orange to crimson, jumping to contrast the sleeping Lewis below. Your grandmother's quilt flattens a square hollow for us, where we can enjoy wine with no glasses, as your guitar serenades softly from its case, and my camera keeps silent record of this slow passing evening. Exploration began with a parade and bed races leading up to right here, the eternal now, stretching time as only possible on the longest day of summer, where we lay our fears and shirts aside, trusting each other with what we have. So after a blissful 3 months of dating, he decided to go teach in China for a year. So then I wrote a lot of these poems are really old. Some of them are newer in the book, but I pulled up poems from like 2008, 2009, 2010. And there's a whole bunch of angsty poems during that time when we were long distance dating, with a deep foundation of 10 years of friendship. This is unraveling. I had to go back to the beginning to find my sanity, and our future there unfurled, like too many maps pointing this way and that way too. Before you made up your mind and I wore polka dots, wishing you would make up your mind and kiss me like eternity. Kiss me like eternity hangs in the balance before that. We were just here. We were just here at the beginning, before you kissed me, unfurling eternity like a web of polka dots, labeled this way and that way too. You hung my sanity in the balance when you pointed like too many futures leading in circles to remind me that we are a knot. Thank you. I don't know if any of you have delighted in the wonderful torture of a long distance relationship or not. And Skype was different than Zoom. Zoom has, it's evolved a little bit. But we spent 4 months talking on Skype every day, and it was my night and his afternoon because we're 13 hours apart. And in China, where he was teaching, they often shoot off fireworks at random times, or the internet will shut out. And I'm falling asleep because I'm into my master's program for teaching at the time. So it's this very disjointed time in our relationship. And I spent some of my student loan money to buy plane tickets to go visit him in China over Christmas. And that was, of course, exhilarating, but you have all of these emotions. And if any of you have had those long distance relationships, and then you see each other in person again after a long separation, it's delightful and messy. This is called December 2009. Plain weary, disoriented, skip half a day, look for signs in English, slap color back to cheeks. Crowded blue cacophony cannot drown questions raw as cut power lines. Have I fallen through the center of the earth recognizable? Has he? Are we still us? Baggage claim etiquette different here. My personal space is theirs. I'm stuck lumbering Oregonian, driftwood rooted, luggage swirling away for the second time. We are watched, displayed like zoo animals at feeding time. Loved ones throng transparent walls, wave and grin. I find you through the glass like Solomon, head floating above the rest. Awkward, we smile, somehow closer and farther than we've been in months. This crush could last eternity. Inevitably, the swell pushes, merging magnetically clean. You take my bag, fill my hands, solo boxed rose glitter splashed. Words are choppy, voice so different, gravelly with midnight, yet smooth compared to sandpaper Skype tones. Together, we ride another hour, taxi clumsy, alone but not. Bounce unseat belted, fingers linked, mouths still too full of separation to speak. In Shaogan, we climb 12 flights to my room, then up one more, stumble, crouched, clamber through unfinished open air attic, over half walls, dust hugs him, duck for bats, then down half flight to your conjoined apartment door, groggy, giddy, logic has lost balance. We abandoned our shoes at the shores of your bed, quell my fears and familiar waves. Your skin remembers tall sunset, tall grass summer, lingering sunset shimmer. Nothing braves your bedsheet breakers save us, not oceans or time. We exist marooned, this island wild cosmos. But yes, we spark, still us. Thank you. That poem, December, was part of a series of poems that I challenged myself to write, where I wrote one poem for every month of the year. And I just chose my favorite memory from any year for that month. So I have a poem named June that's about my first child's birth. Luckily, each of my kids was born in a different month, or that would have been complicated. So that was December. And in a little bit, I'm going to read you August. So I left China and had another like 7 months because he was coming back the beginning of July. So then it was even worse to have this separation renewed. And this is one of the first poems that I wrote after I returned. Invert the world. Stretched out like the Pacific horizon, separation seems infinite. Yet the distance can be measured. Like an apple, take your knife and cut the globe in half along the equator. Discard the core and peel the crust. It is now possible to invert the world. Fold it at the middle, like pink construction paper waiting for the shape of my heart. There, at the crease, eternity becomes bearable. Like I said, really angsty stuff. And then my next poem, I'm gonna read, it's in Cosmic Pockets, which was my first full-length collection, which has my photography as well. And it's also in Breath So Hungry. So there's a couple of poems that are in both. So since I don't have Breath So Hungry in front of me, I'm gonna read it from Cosmic Pockets. And it's called August 2010. This is an image that's next to it, which was the sunset on this August night. August. Transitions dictate unease, even good ones like this. Friends and family polka dotting my sister's property, awaiting my entrance. Alexi descends, blankets ears, eludes orange sky that will serve backdrop to our reception duet. Crooning sunset lullaby after cake and toast. Rain, dressed in finest sea mist, fashionably late, invitation in hand, arrives on the downbeat, stays the length of the aisle, punctuated by my groom. All else fades, foggy peripheral haze, cliche connection crystallizes calm in your eyes, rom-com ending, unexpected Hollywood perfection. Joined, we revel, whirlwind of well-wishing, flickering final lights farewell, white dress floods passenger seat. We're off, Highway 26 flies, haunted hotel honeymoon, night one, upgraded corner king, new name, nerves, pair with leftovers, and you, shy smiles linger, seal our vows, shared bed serenade. Thank you, and I'm gonna end my time with the last poem that's in the book and skipping ahead like 12 years, our 12th anniversary is next month. This one is called Scenes from a Marriage. We can talk about individual shower fantasies, take turns removing scum from all 5 sinks, hunch over a hand of pub table rummy, lean into tennis ball hallway back rubs, sign our names together annually for student loans and rental agreements, share an ever-growing mug library population, agonize over perceived finalities like diagnoses, time, and robust cowlicks, embrace the intimacies and atrocities of a mutual bathroom routine, revisit significant memories between pressing present interruptions, kiss in the kitchen, clandestine, except for child chaos and cheer crowding around, sneak upstairs after Saturday lunch while their kids are snug in a pocket of camaraderie, choose every night which fizzy water best complements our moods, fill the waters, pick the stuffies, tuck and sing and turn out the lights. Make difficult decisions about which Emmy-nominated show to start tonight. Watch Oscar and Jessica unravel in exquisite detail, then fall asleep in flannel sheets, my frigid fingertips on your ribcage. Thank you again so much, everybody. Thank you, Shawn.
Oh, Joann, that was so much fun. I have always loved your poetry and your playful language, all your polka dotting throughout the book, your really authentic voice. And I love the way you're just so willing to completely color outside the lines. So true art. This book has just been a real treat to work on and to read. So thank you so much for sharing these really fun poems with us today. Our next featured poet is Elaine Nussbaum, the author of Blood Moon, which explores the first 18 months of the pandemic, social issues, and a tribute to Marvin Bell. Elaine Nussbaum lives in Scappoose, Oregon with her partner David, plus 3 cats, 5 hens, and a rooster named Echinacea. When she's not working as a substitute teacher at a juvenile detention facility, infusing poetry into the curriculum, she is writing in her cabin. Elaine holds an MFA from Pacific University and a certificate in writing from the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics at Boulder University. Her work has appeared in Bombay Gin, The Sun, Silk Road, Thimbleberry, Persimmon Tree, and elsewhere. Previous collections include Poems in the Key of D Flat and Jesus Christ Made Seattle Under Protest. Please welcome Elaine Nussbaum.
Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. I'm seeing some friends and my brother's here. Just give me a minute to minimize you guys. So here's my poems. Yeah, I'm just going to start reading. I do want to just say that I mentioned 2 poems. My husband, I've been married 3 times, only once legitimately. Anyway, so don't get confused when I mention my husband. It could be one of them or the other one. I'm just going to start. So here we go. Blue jay, plum blossoms fall like snow. A stellar jay with its charcoal colored top knot and sapphire feathers collects dead grass to build a nest in the alder tree, where he and his mate will squawk and squawk. I don't know until I turn on my TV that in New York City, 1,900 people died in the last 72 hours, doubling the number of the previous 72. Outside hospitals, bodies are loaded into refrigerated morgue trucks by gurney and forklift. The first infant has died, and 1 million people worldwide have contracted COVID-19, doubling the number in 1 week. This Holy Week, and this is a pantoum. This Holy Week, the US Surgeon General declares this week will be the hardest and saddest for most Americans. Tuesday's supermoon will appear like emerald pink flocks. In Florida, another gender reveal party explodes into flame. Coronavirus appears as a lipid envelope studded with rosettes, clustered in triangles, mingling with orange and gray proteins. In Florida, another gender reveal party explodes into flame, and coronavirus cases explode to over 100,000. Clustered in triangles, mingling with orange and gray proteins. Palm Sunday, and the churches in Florida are packed to the brim. Coronavirus cases explode to over 100,000 in Florida. In the USA, 1 person is dying every 45 seconds. Palm Sunday, and the churches in Florida are packed to the brim. They are laughing and dancing, rejoicing, singing the hymns. In Florida, in the USA, 1 person is dying every 45 seconds. In reality, the moon looks like a white money plant, Lunaria Nue. They are laughing and dancing, rejoicing, and singing the hymns. In Dutch-speaking countries, Judas penning means coins of Judas. In reality, the moon looks like a white money plant, Lunara Annua. A New York City a New York City paramedic. Out here on the streets, it's nothing but sirens. In Dutch-speaking countries, Judas penning means coins of Judas. In New York, there are not enough cemeteries to bury the dead. In New York City, a New York City paramedic. Out here on the streets, it's nothing but sirens. He responded to 16 cardiac arrest calls in 12 hours. In New York, there are not enough cemeteries to bury the dead. Passover tonight. Why is this night different from all other nights? He responded to 16 cardiac arrest calls in 12 hours. From my writing cabin in Oregon, I see the cedar's lacy branches. Passover tonight. Why is this night different from all other nights? I see the sunlight skimming the moss-covered trunks of alder. From my writing cabin in Oregon, I see the cedar's lacy branches. A murder of crows erupts into cacophony, settles into fir trees. I see the sunlight skimming the moss-covered trunks of alder. The crow's cacophony ignites the tree frogs into peals of croaking. A murder of crows erupts into cacophony, settles into the fir trees. By Easter Sunday, we'll have packed churches all over this country. The crow's cacophony ignites the tree frogs into peals of croaking. Holy Thursday, Christ predicts his betrayal, his death, his resurrection. By Easter Sunday, we'll have packed churches all over this country. As I am writing, I hear a loud crash. I discover a fallen tree. Holy Thursday, Christ predicts his betrayal, his death, his resurrection. In New York, 779 people died in 24 hours, the highest in 1 day. As I am writing, I hear a loud crash. I discover a tree has fallen. Governor Cuomo, who is not Jewish, reminds us it is Passover. In New York, 779 people died in 24 hours, the highest in 1 day. We learned from the past. Next year, we will reach the promised land. Governor Cuomo, who is not Jewish, reminds us it is Passover. Cuomo tells us there is good news. The curve is flattening. We learn from the past. Next year, we will reach the promised land. In New York City, new hospitalizations in 1 day decreased 69%. Cuomo tells us there is good news. The curve is flattening. Black Saturday, the day between the crucifixion and resurrection. In New York City, new hospitalizations in one day decreased 69%. And observant Jews, as observant Jews, they could not bury Jesus until Sunday. Black Saturday, the day between the crucifixion and the resurrection. In New York, a third grade teacher dies of coronavirus. As observant Jews, they could not bury Jesus until Sunday. St. Patrick's was converted into a field hospital. Now they don't need it. In New York, a third grade teacher dies of coronavirus. Walking to my cabin, I scare up 2 yearling black-tailed deer. St. Patrick's was converted into a field hospital. Now they don't need it. The deer nibble weeds in the sunshine. Their black tails flick as I write. Tuesday's supermoon did not appear like emerald pink flocks. Coronavirus appears as a lipid envelope studded with rosettes. So these are pretty much in chronological order. I don't have enough time for all of them, so it's more like just the first year of the pandemic. Cattails. As I enter the local supermarket, Tracy Chapman's "Talking About a Revolution" blares from the speakers, and swallows chatter from their home in the rafters. 8 a.m. Do you wear a blue surgical mask, an N95 carpenter's dust mask, a fern-patterned cotton mask, or a black neoprene mask you paid way too much for that squeezes your nose so tight it leaves a red mark, but not nearly as bad as the marks you see broadcast on the faces of the frontline medical workers after a 12-hour shift? Are you the older couple without masks who stand in front of the only plastic bag dispenser in the produce aisle and discuss your next purchase while 4 or 5 other people wait 6 feet away, radiating out from you like a human sunflower? On your drive home, the sun streaks through your windshield. Perched on cattails, red-winged blackbirds serenade you from the glittering marsh. Touch. In the hardware store, I pick up a cucumber plant and a bag of potting soil. When I hand the cashier the plant, my pinky finger grazes the back of her hand. This is the first time I have touched another human, except my husband, in 11 weeks. May Day during COVID-19. My husband comes to me in a dream. He has been dead 30 years, struck by a car in Ecuador. Because his body was so far gone by the time it arrived in the States, the undertaker would not let me see him. I often dream he fabricated his own death, that he is alive and living the dream in Ecuador. But in this dream, he tells me, this COVID-19 pandemic, you will all be okay. I often dream my mother is still alive, that she was buried alive and after many years escapes. I think about the thousands of humans who will not get to say goodbye to their loved ones. The camellia bush behind my compost that has not bloomed in 16 years produces 2 exquisite pink blossoms. A crow is a corvid. Jackson Hole, Wyoming. In the middle of the square, the one with the 4 arches made of 1,000 elk antlers, a raven caws. In the shade of a ponderosa, as far away from anyone as I can get, I watch tourists from all over the world lick ice cream and snap pictures with their phones. Only I wear a mask. The raven, perched on an aspen, its leaves ready to burst into flame, caws again. People, winter is coming. Get your act together. Portland, Oregon. A siren screams, a crow caws. In a building across the street, a child screams, bloody murder. Bloody murder, what does that even mean? From my perch on a bench, graffitied with roses, I see a scattering of people who meander through this park. A teenage girl stretches her legs out at a picnic table, disappears into her phone. 3:30 in the afternoon and 81 degrees. Is a typical October afternoon, except it isn't. School should have started a month ago. Because of COVID, everything is shut except the mega grocery across the street. Is the child hurt? Doesn't she want to get back on Zoom? The leaves are turning burgundy, but have not begun to drop. A dog barks. The crow stares at me. Mushrooms. Tense pop up like mushrooms in newly mowed grass. Brown, white, green, orange, and blue tents. Some people don't have tents, only sleeping bags. Some sleep in clothes with more clothes piled on top. People in suits cross streets. These people are sleepwalking. Some tent encampments are neat. Some are littered with cardboard needles, beer cans, glass bottles, and blue plastic. A pink flamingo, an iron horseshoe, an artificial bougainvillea, an angel carved into a tree. An entire household is stuffed into a shopping cart, bedroll, duffel bag, white plastic tub filled with dirty dishes. Affixed to the side of the cart is a sign. Coins or green stuff, deposit here. From one tent, a kid emerges, tucks in a white shirt so ripped it's really only half a shirt, shakes his black dreads. Down the block, a red-headed kid punches the air with a gloved hand, punches over and over as he walks down the sidewalk, mumbling into the gray, mushy air. Once a day now, I am filled with rage and want to punch the air over and over until I can breathe again. Sorry, my email just went over my screen. Sorry, I'll back up a little bit. From one tent, a kid emerges, tucks in a white shirt so ripped it's really only half a shirt, shakes his black dreads. Down the block, a red-headed kid punches the air with a gloved hand, punches over and over as he walks down the sidewalk, mumbling to the gray, mushy air. Once a day now, I am filled with rage and want to punch the air over and over until I can breathe again. In Oregon, 628 people died today from COVID-19. We are all so tired. In the bike lane, a kid rides a motorized scooter, earbuds blaring. Is his tune happy or dire? This next poem is called Blood Moon, and it's from Marvin Bell. Number 1, The Dead Woman and the Moon. The dead woman did not get much sleep because all night the cats jumped on her head. This election is too close to call, and this moon is a hunter's blue. Once in a blue moon, the waxing gibbous moon sweeps past the red planet Mars. Halloween and Civil War, the president will sulk in his bunker till the fatigues yank him out. The dead woman cares not a whit for him, and this country is shriveling before our eyes. Red, white, and blue, and the stars and stripes are whipping behind thousands of black trucks, gunning and blowing black exhaust. The flags are tattered at the edges, and those monster trucks can't help dragging the flags through the mud. 2, more about the dead woman and the moon. This blue moon is also a blood moon, and the dead woman has been sleepwalking. If the dead woman is truly to write a dead woman poem, she must have kaleidoscopic perception, but the dead woman cannot wrap her head around the statistics. The not president is going for herd immunity, doesn't care if we all die. All the dead people can't live without you, Marvin, and the live people cannot die. We are a country washed up on a beach after a shipwreck. The tide is coming in and the waves are getting closer. It is raining and we are naked. We must make a fire, but all the wood is soaking wet. Help will be coming in 80 days, but how do we get through this without eating each other? Hummingbird. The frequency of my cat's purr is the same frequency as the beating wings above our heads. He just sits there turning his head from side to side, sits on that slender wisteria branch, sits on that twisted and slender wisteria branch, turning his ruby-colored head, turning his glistening ruby-colored head in the gray and dripping evening, sits there mere inches from the red-based feeder. Or maybe he is standing. He stands there on feet the size of a pencil eraser, stands there on the wet and twisted wisteria branch while the cat underneath munches food. The red-based feeder is empty. Ants crawl up and down inside the glass, sucking up the last of the nectar. The female hummingbird waits totally still. She stands still for a quarter of an hour, half an hour, 3/4 of an hour while I eat my lunch. She turns her head a quarter turn, lifts her doll-sized wings, scratches her side with a needle-like beak. 3 hummingbirds buzz, spin, fight over a teaspoon of sugar water left in the feeder. One screeches 2 feet from my head. Why is there no food in the feeder? And this is the last one I'll read. I dream that I grow my hair long. 1. I dream that I grow my hair long. Over and over I dream this. I grow it and cut it, grow it like it was when I was 19. I cut it before my teenage crush gets to see my long hair. He turns into my husband, David. In real life, I have not cut my hair since mid-February. It is now the end of May. 100,000 people in the US have died from COVID-19. My hair is to my shoulders and streaked with gray. David thinks if I keep growing it, I will look like Bonnie Raitt. If only I could sing and play the blues like she can. We are at phase 1. I could call my hairdresser, whose husband is deployed somewhere in the Middle East, or maybe they send him home. Even though my hair falls in my eyes and gets in my mouth when I eat, I don't make an appointment. I don't cut my hair. 2, it has been a year and a week since I cut my hair. Now 500,000 people have died. I dream of Michael Tinker. I can feel his blue and purple flannel shirt, the hair on his dark arms below where he has rolled up his sleeves. It is cold in his converted mail truck. He has lots of stuff in there. Tools, clothes, papers. His gorgeous dreads reach to the middle of his back. We smoke joint after joint to keep warm. Maybe sip whiskey. I am not in love. I am 19. I don't know anything about sex. I've had sex with many men, but I really don't know anything. We drag a wooden kitchen chair outside and drape a white towel over my shoulders. I lean against his long blue jeaned legs. I feel the sun on my neck and his fingers combing through my hair. Then he cuts it. 3, I have celebrated 2 birthdays since the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak. The president declares, this is not a game. Now my hair is down to the middle of my back. The ends are dry and break off. I call my hairdresser and get the same message. Due to COVID-19, for the safety of our stylists, please be patient. I was not in love with Tinker because I was still in love with Dwayne. Sometimes we made love in my house on the hill, Dwayne's dark hair sprinkled with plaster dust. He tasted like beer. My breasts are sweet and white under my paisley halter top. At the tavern, we drink beer after beer, white foam sticking to our sweaty lips. No matter how long my hair gets, I will never be 19 again. 1 out of 500 have died of COVID-19. Thank you.
Wow, Elaine, that was powerful. And it's like, you're taking us through all of this, and it's like, I can't believe we're still going in this, and we might be heading into another little wave or whatever. It's just, will it ever
Right.
end?
When I wrote this, it was supposed to be the first year and it was going to be over soon. And yeah, we're still going through
I
it.
think all of us who are writing poems or putting out books thought this
Right.
is going to be this little memorial of this 1 year thing that we had to go through. And it's
Right.
like never ending, but
Yeah.
I love your book. And
Thanks.
I love the, just the really unique metaphor that you use throughout the book. I mean, I love like comparing homeless tents to mushrooms, or your poem about, there's a poem about a mocha pot that she didn't read tonight, but it's wonderful because it compares this mocha pot simmering to what was happening in the streets with all the protests and everything. And then of course that crow warning us that winter is coming.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful, wonderful collection filled with surprises. And I love how there's always that moon, either the blue moon, the blood moon, the strawberry moon, throughout the whole collection weaving through. It's just really, really well done. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. Okay, well, that brings us to our final poet, Kristin Berger, the author of Earthwork, a gorgeous collection of poems that is part of our Select series. Kristin Berger is the author of several poetry collections, including Echolocation, How Light Reaches Us, and a recent art and poetry collaboration with Diane Sandel titled Women and Changing Man, a High Desert Myth. She is a recipient of residencies from Playa, OSU's Spring Creek Project, and Starkey Experimental Forest and Range. Kristin's work is influenced by Oregon's high desert, Cascades, Coastal Range, and all the Pacific Northwest wild and interconnected landscapes. She lives in Portland, Oregon with her family. Please welcome Kristin Berger.
Thank you. Thank you, Shawn. It's really nice to be here and see so many people I haven't seen in so long. I wish I could hug all of you. So I'm just gonna, this is my hugs. Yeah, thank you for coming out on a beautiful summer Saturday, wherever you are. And thank you to Shawn for bringing us all together here, and to Joann and Elaine for sharing your work. Yeah, it's Shawn, I want to just thank you for giving my poems a home with the Poetry Box. This book spans from when my children were little to now. They're teenagers, they're quickly moving on and out, and so it's a bunch of poems that I found couldn't fit into my other books. And so it finally coalesced, but it took sort of the pandemic for that to happen. And it's about kind of all the regular things in life. So I'm just going to start with a poem set in Michigan for my mom, Carol, who's here today. Passenger. Remember drawing lop-lobed hearts onto fogged windows with a hot finger, the small miracle of breath opaquing the world for just a few minutes, while the hills of the heart descended in drips before you had a chance to strike an arrow through, take a sleeved elbow to swipe, see snow zeroing in, inhale, exhale, start all over. From the back seat as a child, I could find my way north to our cabin, no directions, but by the sprucing of the skyline, the way bridges thinned their spans, and farmland filled with the pulse of oil wells, blue and gold beacons in the rearview mirror. Like campfires, I would gallop my imaginary horse too, if not for all the fences gridding the horizon. There are details of the story we drive away from, like a disappearing river or a spouse's love. I learned my way like the fiery warblers retracing their route from somewhere hot and south, along the same spine of road and ditch, the scent of pines imprinting on us a safe sandy habitat around a hemisphere's bend, some home just out of reach, landscape rolling that appeared when I cranked the window down, let hearts slip into the car doors. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing my own words. The car doors, sealed sleeve, snowy air rushing in, something solid, a name to press my lips to. I was telling Shawn that I've actually not done a poetry reading on Zoom. And my bifocals here are messing with me, so. I'm going to read this one about a little place that I visit every day, Powell Butte. It's called Wayfinder. There are endless ways to dismantle a life and some days to mend it. First, face the flowers, arriving to carve air with their determined petal load. When the bluff says leap, madrones give pause, ochre trunks polished by many hands of despair. This world can hold us, disoriented, shook in the mapless year, like the moon stranding us to a meadow, straining to hear a frog chorus turning winter's clod of darkness. See how we carry multiple pulses at once. Yesterday, your son flew down the trail, his bike carving a dozen pivots of joy, like a holy text for you to follow, if you could only keep up. Thank you. It's very weird to see jazz hands, but I like them. I'm always trying to make sense of the senseless in my poetry, I think, as we all try to. And as a human living in the United States, there's just so much in the news that we maneuver and pivot from while we're trying to carry on our regular life. It's overwhelming, it's fracturing, and most of the time I just find that we're counting our lucky blessings. So here's a poem for that. The thoughts and prayers of Trader Joe's shoppers. That tonight will be the quiet, easy Sunday when all cars obey the lights, and the moon escorts clouds over the overpass, under which homeless families are thankful for heavy church tips and no rain. But tonight you reduce the odds and leave the children at home, the one fuming because you won't let him get the Nerf gun all his friends have, that handles and loads like a semi-automatic, because you are the mother. And tonight will be the random night you return with a trunk full of groceries, nothing but a split fingernail and no sirens trawling the distance. I have a more hopeful one right here. Crosswalk. We are here to keep each other up. The only truth I can make of a day in which an SUV nearly runs over a woman in the rain and someone pulls over to ask, "Are you okay?" I sigh my gratitude and relief to no one. For the quince branch blooming in the bakery window, for the first customer coming in from the wet dark, for coffee and bread, for butter and the hands that pound it, for hands that massage grief from the body, unknot us from ourselves, teach us the lost art of self-care, for bush tits arriving on time to devour a sweet suet cake, the shape crumbling little by little, ornament of seed twirl and hunger, a warbler tucked into the flock like family. How do we guard this grace against the next flurry of the here and the departed? Life of water, branch, seed, and cell, blueprint of city, road, us. Woman crossing to her next curb of safety. We could be the joy deliverers we need. We could stop all traffic. So I didn't actually write very much during the pandemic. I got a few poems out, but I was mostly just trying to keep up with staying employed and parenting and homeschooling and just that full-time vigilance against the virus that we all were engaged in. But I did do some, and I numbered them according to the day that they fell on. And I'm really glad that some pandemic poetry is appearing here today. I mean, the virus is still with us. People I know right now are sick and quarantining and, reliving that trauma of the early pandemic. I thought I didn't want to return to that, but I think it's a really good reminder now that it's still here and we still need to take care of each other. So here's some poems that got through the haze of the early days. Day 301. In the 10th month of the pandemic, a coin shortage and a brevity of eye contact. Will we recover and uncover the half of us that completes smiles, sentences, preoccupied by loose change in our pockets, hands counting the wealth of small talk? The day in which I lose count. Some I let go of like postcards, stamped from a point in time and place I have yet to visit. That hand scrawl running out of room under the address, a footnote of X's and O's, little encryptions winging back, honing me. Someday I want to live through, saying in its picturesque way, wish you were here. The arrival gate. It all might return to us yet. The thin thought the year made, the stones skidding starstruck across thick black ice, the echo held in a spruce forest's dark weave, my mother walking through the airport, disheveled from her nap, her face bright and unmasked, her person secure. Day 365. Irises score earth open in quiet, daylit strokes, not one at a time, but in communal agreement, underground timepieces, bulbs electrifying each other in soil's loamy, sunless dream. Even the crow's suddenness between pre-spring branches above the dentist's parking lot, can't compare to such brilliance. We are all emerging from the emergency. I take off the sunglasses they make you wear in the hydraulic chair, maskless and hopeful at the high blue view, and know that when we get to kiss again, it will be like an iris. No earth will hold us back. And one more from the pandemic poems. Healing grapefruit. Most about this last pandemic year, I hope will fade. The trauma and the chaos, the uncertainty of our lives hemmed or stopped altogether. The sleeplessness and the tinny chords of exhaustion playing us, tuning us into people we sometimes don't recognize, catching our reflection in a friend's porch window. I want to hold this time as if it were a globe we pass around, take each other's burden, turn over the marks isolation scarred on our surface, where beauty still cracked through. I will not want the whole of it to pass away, though. Not the children living under one roof and under wing, coming out of their rooms after class to stand like neighbors and say, "How are you doing today?" We divide the hours like a math problem we tease and coax and trouble and never understand the sum. What is real and what is remote? Where does mother end and child begin? Too much of the year I could not shelter them from. Somehow we still want to be together, sitting on the couch for something mindless like glee. My oldest peels a grapefruit, turning the blushing sun over and over to find the right spot to drive a nail, separate pith from taut capsules, sweeter than spooning it with sugar. Sections equally divided and passed down, so quickly eaten, each of us asking for more, please. Thank you. I'm going to read two more poems that are sort of like my version of prayers to send you off with. Earth Bridge. Dear world, where would I be without you? Under the green blue river, pillowing clay banks, river slitting through milky fog, clear as day. I can see all the ways forward and behind. Nests in leafless cottonwoods poised to clutch an eagle, a heron. I want to hold someone without thinking. How you pin me between here and there, that unreachable island. Dear blue envelope, please don't spill. Contain this love for the other side. Be the foothold, my submerged terra firma. Keep us on the span when the water goes down. And this poem is, I wrote this a long time ago for a friend's mother who passed away from lung cancer, and my kids were in elementary school. And she loved to make jam. And after a whole year of not canning anything, this whole past year was just an odd year. I'm always canning. I was able to make cherry jam on the 4th of July this year. So I just wanted to bring Susan to this reading. It's called Late Stage Harvest. Don't wait for a hard frost to tell the story. Look up into the alto stratus wind and count the seconds between no thoughts. Roll the currency of huckleberries from palm to palm. Commit to a steady heat, or keep them to yourself. You have every right to do nothing. The stranger in the checkout line had babies kick inside her too, like you. There is no shame in rendezvousing with an unrehearsed, weakened voice. Find water before thirst. Any trail leads to a lesser known lake. Walk alone and take a drink. I love you like rain. The slow moon rises on its own ambition. I love you like air. The future makes the breathing easier. Each berry released is a come and gone day, the world an ever-bearing bush. I'll miss you like a taproot. It's okay to be lost in the picking, the sugar, the stain. Spoon feed everyone what you nearly forgot. Wash the pot and pass along your ladle. Wipe the jars clean and seal them tight. Thank you.
Wow, Kristin, I'm a little emotional after hearing some of those poems. Earth Bridge and Late Harvest, kind of really, wow, okay. Let me get hold of myself here. I'm so sorry. That was just so beautiful. And it touched me on such a deep level. And I have to say, your words just sing. They are just so lovely and so melodic. And I just love the way you weaved in your personal narrative with all these bigger stories about what's happening in and to our world. And you've kind of just made us realize how all these huge issues are just still so deeply, deeply personal. And we are really all in this together. And these poems are filled with beauty and hope. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing these poems with us today. They are just gorgeous and really, really, really special. So thank you. And all three of our poets today, I have to just say, just an extra special thank you. I woke up in a shitty mood. And how you do that sometimes. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to get through this show. And but you guys, all three of you just brought so much beauty to the screen today, to my life today. And I feel 100 times better. And that's what poetry can do. And that's what the three of you have done for me. So I just really, really want to thank you for that. It was beautiful. And let's have a giant round of applause for all of our poets today. Wow. And thank you to our audience for joining us on a sunny day and joining us for another edition of the Poetry Box Live. It really means the world to us that you joined us here on Zoom to celebrate their poetry. Our next show will be on Saturday, August 13th. We'll be featuring Annette Gagliardi, who is the author of A Short Supply of Viability. Kathy Kane will be here, the author of The Weight of Sky, and Rachel Barton, author of This Is the Lightness. So to keep up to date on upcoming shows, new releases, and submission opportunities, please subscribe to our newsletter by going to thepoetrybox.com, where you'll find a sign-up form at the bottom of each webpage. I want to thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to sharing more poetry with you next month on the Poetry Box Live.
Thank you, Shawn. I didn't mean to make you cry.
Oh no, it's the best way. It's the best thing ever. That's all good. It was really fun today, you guys.
It was a great reading.
Beautiful, beautiful.
They were all beautiful. All beautiful.